Okay, so I have 7 o'clock. So I'm going to call a meeting to order. I'm going to take attendance first. Councillor Cross, I see you up there. Councillor Maxwell, I see you there.
Present.
Councillor Olmsted, I see you there. And Councillor Shippen, I see you there. So welcome, everyone. Does anyone have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Oh, sorry, Cindy?
Sorry, I just wanted to let you know we just lost Councillor Cross.
Oh, yeah? I hope it's not another like the last one.
We've been having problems all week with our internet at our business.
Oh, yeah?
Our money machine runs on the internet and it's constantly dropping.
So sorry. There we go. Back away from the computer.
Okay, does anybody have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Councillor Cross.
No.
Councillor Maxwell.
No.
Councillor Olmsted.
No.
And Councillor Shippen.
She's frozen.
Do you have any conflict of interest, Councillor Shippen?
No. Sorry,
Okay,
I thought you heard me the first time.
Sorry. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is number 3, petitions and delegations. So we have Mr. Sean Sindall from Gallagher Benefit Services Canada, and he has a report he's going to provide to us tonight. And he's the good-looking guy there on the screen that we don't usually have with us. So if you'd like to go ahead, Mr. Sindall.
Well, that's one of the best introductions I've ever had. Good one.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. For those of you I know. Good to see you again. For those of you I don't, nice to meet you, albeit through Zoom. I'm going to have about 5 or 6 minutes for the comments here just to give you the good news story, because there is one. And then I'll give you the challenging part of the news. And then I'll give you the rationale behind that bad news story. And then we can talk questions. But I'm going to ask you all to just grab a pen and a piece of paper, because I'm going to give you some numbers that I'd like you to write down, just so that you can have a look at a little bit of math. I'm not the most technologically advanced when it comes to Zoom, so I don't have screens to share. So here's the good news story on your employee benefits portfolio. Your premium over the past 5 years has been incredibly stable, and that's because your claims have been very stable. So I'll go back 5 years. In 2017, your renewal was a decrease of 1%. In 2018, we had a decrease again of 3%. In 2019, we had a decrease again of 5%. And in 2020, we had a zero change to premium. And that's again because of really consistent claims. The carrier has been treating us very, very well on the premium side. This year, the carrier requested a 31% increase in premiums, which translates into $10,000 a year. And I worked very hard with the carrier to get that down to a 15% increase, which translates into $5,000 per year. So that's the crummy news there. To finish out the good news story, if we take those 5 years, the -1, the -3, the -5, the 0, and the +15, we have 5 years with a 6% increase in premium, which is really rare, on the verge of unheard of, over a 5-year period to have only a 6% increase in premium. Typically, a benefits plan goes up anywhere between 8 and 12% on average per year. And we've had 5 years with a total of 6. So that is the good news story. But let me tell you about the reason for the bad news story. And obviously the bad news is that +31 that we negotiated to a +15. I'm going to get you to keep your pens handy again for this one. Reason number 1 is drug claims. And over the past 3 years, drug claims went from $3,900 in the year to last year $7,200, and this past year $8,900. So over a twofold increase in drug usage. Reason number 2 is healthcare, which is things like massage therapy and chiropractic and hospital stays and wheelchair rentals and things of that nature outside of drug. Claims went from $1,300 a year to last year $770 to this past year $3,800. So over a threefold increase in that claim line. And reason number 3 is dental claims, which a couple of years ago were $1,900. Last year, $1,000, and this past year, $3,000. So overall, if you add those 3 claim lines up, a couple of years ago, it added up to $7,187 in claims, and then last year, $9,000, and this year $15,585. So we on the broker side of that of things, we look at your renewals over the past 5 years at -1, -3, -5, and 0. And we as brokers and consultants say, wow, that is amazing. But someday it's going to come to an end. And we have 6 employees on the plan, but obviously there's probably more like 15 or 20 people insured on your plan with spouses and children. And eventually those very, very consistent claims that you have seen from your employees over so many years, eventually something's going to happen. Somebody's going to get sick, or you're going to hire a new employee who, maybe is diabetic or has some health conditions. Eventually something's going to happen. And quite clearly in the past year and a half, that's been the case. So the increase that was requested at 31%, I'll be honest with you, was completely justified. We were very successful working with Canada Life. They were very good with me. And we're very willing to to work on that number and bring it down to less than half. But even that 31% number was justified. So that's the good news, the bad news, and the rationale behind all of it, and the math behind all of it. Your question is probably going to be what's going to happen going forward. And, I would suspect that we have probably got, I think that year before last, we probably had a partial year of these higher claims starting with someone obviously getting sick. I think in the past 12 months, we've obviously seen a full year of those claims. And as long as that stays consistent at that level, then so will your premium. If things go, crazy beyond that again, your premium is determined by your claims. So if claims go down, so will your premium. If claims go up, as they have in this past couple of years, so will your premium. So I'll open it up to questions from you. I know this is, I've had a lot of conversation with Cindy around this, and I know it doesn't fit well in your budget. It's a $5,000 hit that was not expected, especially since you had decreases for the most part in the previous 4 years. So I'll open up to questions to help you gain some.
Any questions, Councillor Cross?
I was curious on the summary, what the AD&D was. I don't know what that stands for.
So AD&D is accidental death and dismemberment, which is kind of like, you remember the old double indemnity, where if you died as a result of an accident, it would pay double. So that's sort of what AD&D is. It pays double the life insurance in the event of death. And it also pays a cash amount for a variety of injuries. So if there was an accidental dismemberment of an arm, it would pay a cash amount to cover medical expenses related to that dismemberment. It's kind of a standard in employee group benefit programs.
Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell?
Thank you for that explanation. I think it answered most of my questions. I'm just more out of curiosity. How much is the term life insurance for each brother?
I believe in this case, it's 1 times income. So each employee would have 1 time their annual salary and coverage.
That's the term life insurance? So that's
Yeah.
That's not very much.
Yeah.
1 year salary. Kind of looks expensive.
Yep,
without
salary.
insurance.
It's 87 cents per thousand. It's actually, there's $297,000 worth of coverage there in total, as you can see. 87 cents is a higher rate for sure, and that's simply a factor of industry. So the rates for those top 4 things, term life insurance, AD&D, dependent life, and long-term disability, are driven by your industry class and male, female average age. And so if you were a law firm, your life insurance rate would probably be half what you see there. But as soon as you have guys who are driving tractors and carrying shovels and chainsaws, the life insurance and LTD rates are affected dramatically for your industry. I can tell you, I've been doing this for 30, I don't even want to tell you how many years. And the rates that you have, I've been working with Canada Life on this case, I don't know, for probably on your file for probably 15 or 20 years now. And Canada Life, I can say, is rarely as accommodating as they have been for your municipality. They've been very, very reasonable and very easy to negotiate for that many years on your account. And that is, I've got a few hundred cases that I handle, and I can count on one hand the number of cases that they've been as easy to deal with on as they have been on yours.
So just to clarify, the total premium is it $3,150 per employee?
No, that's the total monthly premium.
Monthly premium, okay.
Yeah.
So how much is it per employee?
Well, you can see if you look at the breakdown if you look at drugs as an example, you can see that each thing, well, you have only family employees. So each employee, the cost is $233.88 per employee. For dental, it's $55.80 per employee. Vision is $11.76, and then each employee would have a different amount of long-term disability and life insurance because those are driven by income. So I would say if you were to ballpark it, it's probably, Cindy would know better, but I would say it's probably with 6 people at $3,150. I don't know, what is that? 500, about 500 a piece per month.
500 per month. $6,000, yeah. So $6,000 a year per employee.
Yeah.
And it went up $1,000 this year.
That's right. Went up 15% this year. So 7, yes.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not quite that much, but
Okay.
close to it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that these numbers would be handy to have when we're talking budget and salary increases, because this is actually another additional salary increase of $1,000 a year because we're paying.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you should, the easy calculation is to look at your total payroll. And if your total payroll is, say, $1 million, and your total cost for benefits is, say, $35,000, or that'd be about $40,000, then you know that benefits represents 4% of salary. So when you are looking at salary changes, then you have to figure that 4% of that, it has to be added on for the benefits, for sure. As same thing that you're going to add in the pension as well. Not that changes, but certainly the benefits cost does.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any questions, Councillor Olmsted?
No, I don't. Thank you. You answered everything. Thank you.
So I think the other question that you might have is, should we look at another carrier? And we do run that exercise for the municipality I think we do it every, Cindy could correct me, but I think we do that every 4 years, so that we go to the full market and see if there's a better pricing available. And we have continued that over the years, and we have never found another carrier to be in the same ballpark. This has always been the cheapest price for the best plan. And so someone might wonder, I wonder if we should look at the market. And I will say that we will, when that 4 years is up again, which I think is probably next year. I would suggest that this year is a challenging time to do that, because a good time to go to market is when your claims are fairly consistent. A bad time to go to market is when your claims have gone up by 2 or 3 times over a 12 or 18-month period. Not a great time to shop the market. So I think my suggestion there from my experience would be to let's see what happens over the next 12 months. If things level out, great. If things drop off, that's even better. If things keep going up, then maybe we need to have a conversation next year that is more revolved around, do we need to trim back some of these benefits to at least be able to maintain a reasonable cost from the municipality's perspective. So maybe I'll leave that with you guys to muddle over. The only thing that I need from council is a motion to either accept the renewal as is, which would be my recommendation based on my comments I just made, or if you want me to go to market for you this year, just let me know in a motion and I can do that as well. We've done it before, we'll do it again, and if you want it to happen this year, we can certainly make that happen. Like I say, not the best time to go to market, but that doesn't mean that if council decides that that's what they'd like to see, by all means.
Okay, before we do that, Bishop, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Findle?
No, I'm good. He answered everything for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right. I guess we'll have to determine what we're going to do moving forward, right? At a future meeting. So thank you very much, Mr. Findle.
Okay, so just reach out if you have any other questions or needs from my end, and I'll jump off the call. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate seeing you all.
It was good to see you again. Thanks again. Bye now.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is a presentation of Mr. Cuff. So Tammy, can I pass this over to you to do the introductions, or?
Well, you could, but I don't believe he's signed on yet. I told him it would be probably 7:30.
Okay. Yeah, we're about 9 minutes off of that.
Okay. Do you want me to give him a quick call and see if he can go on, or?
Sure.
Okay. I'll mute here and.
Okay, please and thank you.
He'll be on momentarily.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Tammy?
Yes?
Okay, Mr. Cup has arrived.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I'm sure some of you remember George Cuff presenting the evening of August 9th. I was otherwise detained, so I'm very excited to be here this evening to introduce him. He's got a Canada-wide reputation. He's written several books, hundreds of articles. He's been a mayor and a council member himself. He gives advice to municipalities all across the country and organizations. He's just going to, he sort of went over time, which happens for all of us. He's going to try and wrap up or condense everything this evening for everyone to enjoy. The questions that were all sent in, he answered, and E4M will be sending his answers along as opposed to segueing into other things. And if you have any questions, please jot them down at the end. And if there's time to be answered this evening, if not, they will be answered on paper as well. And you'll get copies of that. So we're very delighted to have him back. And take it away, George Cuff. Thank you for being here with us.
And Tammy, will you allow me to share screen?
Oh, of course.
Somebody has the host button.
That would be Cindy.
So I'm just going to make you the host, and then when you're done your presentation, if you'll give it back to me, okay?
Okay. Are we all there?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Council, delighted to be back with you, and not sure you share that same sentiment, but I hope you do. I have a number of slides that I want to go through just as kind of a reminder, but also as an opportunity for you to ask me some questions and for me to make sure that I've covered the points that I want to make sure that I've covered in a more generic fashion. So let me just run through those, and then I will open it up for some questions. If you see a point that you're not too sure, that you either agree with me or you'd like me to explain a bit further, boy, this is the time to do that. And so jot it down and I'll come back to it, or just mark the slide number and I can put it back up. So we're on slide 25. And this is, I was trying to think if I was going to summarize a whole one-day seminar into a series of slides and boil it down to the bare necessities, what would I say? And so this is what I would say. I would say, number one, that council members are elected to govern the municipality. So when I say that, I want to underline the word govern, because you'll notice that it doesn't say that you were elected to manage. If you're elected to manage, you're getting very badly paid. So you might want to look at your compensation, compare that to Cindy's or your other department head, the head of public works. And somehow they got it wrong, or you got it wrong, because they're making a whole lot more money per month than you are. And so the only answer to that might be found in the fact that you are elected to govern. And in actual fact, you receive a financial pat on the back, an honorarium for your efforts. It should never be called a salary. It should never be put into the same category as staff compensation. This is absolutely separate. And so if it is considered that, you're considering it wrong. It's a financial pat on the back. It's a financial thank you. That's all it is. And it's given the fact that you are a governing board. You're away from being a private citizen. You're now a public official. You don't get to say what you think every day, because in the old days, whatever you said, hardly anybody paid attention except maybe your significant other. And now the moment you say something, everybody listens in the community because you represent council. So you can no longer muse about, we ought to do this, we ought to do that, because people think you're actually going to do that. You guys represent probably one of the largest employers within your municipality, if not the largest. And as a result of that, you got to be very careful about how you act, how you present yourselves. You're no longer the store owner, the teacher, the activist, you're a corporate director. And so all of the stuff that I list, snide comments, racist jokes, potty mouth language, they're all off the table because you're representing citizens and you're showing them what good governance can look like. Secondly, there are certain key roles to be played by the mayor and councillors. It's called governance. Your roles are political. You get to decide a whole lot of what happens in the municipality. I would argue that council decides virtually everything and management carries out virtually everything. So you talk about, so what are the priorities that we should be focused on? Well, that's council's responsibility, is to define priorities. What about how we govern? That's council's responsibility. What about what policies we have, or should we change, or do we need new ones? That's council. What about the employment of our clerk treasurer? That's council. It should be a CAO, by the way. That would be the one single employee that's managing the community. That's council's responsibility. What about changing any of our boards and committees? That's council. What about giving direction to our CAO, or in this case, senior management? Who does that? That's council. So when you think about it, council has, and what about setting the budget? Council sets the final operating budget. Council sets the final capital budget. Council sets the mill rate. Council decides what citizens pay in terms of taxes. That's all council. So when you talk about, gee, we've handed everything over to the management and the administration, you haven't. You've handed over the what. Rather, you've handed over the how. You get to decide all of the what. All of the what means that policies, direction, and so on are all your responsibility. Council should respect the office of mayor. I'm not asking you to love the mayor. I'm not asking you to be the best buddies with the mayor, which I would argue is not necessarily to your best interests. I would argue that you ought to work with the mayor, support the mayor. The mayor means well. The mayor is trying to do his best for the community. And so if you get a chance to pop by, see the mayor, have coffee, give him some of your casual advice, but recognize that he listens to the other voices on council as well. All of that would be helpful. It's not helpful to be bad-mouthing the mayor in the community or in the council chambers. There are certain key roles to be performed by your management group. In the main, your CAO should be your key advisor, your administrator. You should understand what the administrator does in terms of key responsibilities. That should be defined in a position description. CAOs to be your key advisor. They provide managerial, apolitical advice on all business issues. They provide what's called a request for decision. If the clerk treasurer doesn't have one, she should send me a note and I'll send you an RFD. It could even give you some assistance on a first draft if you like. And every issue going to council should have an RFD, which includes background to the issue, options to the issue, and a recommendation on the issue, which should be signed off, in this case, in your instance, by your clerk treasurer. I said the council-CAO relationship is critical. You either learn to trust or mistrust, in this case, Cindy. If the former, it's great. If the latter, then you pull the plug and get on with it. But you recognize that it's a very expensive plug, and that your community is going to be paying lots of money if you pull the plug on senior staff. So don't play silly games. Don't undermine management. Don't get involved in their business. Don't think you ought to be helping them, because helping them often means that you're the one trying to do the work. You should all, by the way, hit your mute button on your computers because I'm hearing some background noise. Council should have an updated strategic plan. You might only have 3 key priorities that you want to work on in this term of office. That actually would be 3 more than a lot of places have. You should have 3 to 5 key priorities, and that's what your strategic plan should discuss and direct and guide. The operating budget, you could do that in 2 or 3 evening meetings. The necessity of going through it line by line by line simply encourages everybody to believe that you don't trust anybody. And, you know, the question becomes one of, so what are you going to change in terms of operating expenditures? The operating expenditures, by and large, stay the same unless you make a major change in programs, i.e., we're going to drop recreation, we're going to drop the trail system, we're going to drop public works. If that was the case, then yes, there's a big change to your operating budget. But for the most part, you don't do that. So while the pandemic might have impacted some of that, by and large, your focus should be on your capital budget, which is the delivery system for your strategic plan. Council's number of meetings, what type of meetings, is governed by your procedure bylaw. The bylaw, by the way, is yours. It says so in the act. It says council should strike a procedure bylaw. And the less you have wording that comes out of Robert's rules or Bourneau's rules, the better off you're going to be. It should be worded in the vernacular so you can all understand it. It should be easy for the mayor to utilize to guide meetings. All of council's decisions are supposed to be set by bylaws, resolutions, and policies. By and large, those policies are wrapped up in resolutions. So no decisions are to be made outside in the hallway, through social media, through the parking lot, through whatever the mayor or the councillor thinks by saying it out loud. It's critical that you've got a good governance model that says, here's how we make decisions, and when they're made, they're made. The wise progressive use of policies is essential. A policy talks about what we're going to get done, and the CAO and your management group sets out the managerial directives, which talk about how it's going to happen. That you should look at. You should be looking at what are the key policies that we have. And if you don't know what they ought to be, Cindy will send me a note and I'll send you a list of the top 20 that you could be working on. Mayor and council should be expected to focus outward, externally, to the community. That's what brought you to the dance. That's what's going to keep you in the dance. If you start planning all your time looking inward at what management's doing, then you take your eyes off the ball. And if you start focusing inward, three things happen. Number one, management becomes confused. If you folks manage, what did you think we do? Govern? Number two, management becomes less adept at managing because you're assuming their authority and their duties. So they become less good at it, if you like. And number three, any issues with how policies get translated into action are yours, given the fact that you're the one that's trying to manage and govern. So when you think about it, you'd realize that, gee, our best role is to make sure we're doing an effective job governing. If we are, we're going to be in the right position as governors of our system. Council manages management through your direction to the CAO, in your case, to the clerk treasurer, and to your road superintendent. Your trust in those people is absolutely critical. And I would argue that you ought to have one at the top of your org structure. All due respect to both of your senior people, you need to have one person. It could be the CAO/clerk or CAO/treasurer, but you need somebody managing the system. It's been proven time and time again to be the most effective system in local government across Canada. In fact, most of the private sector uses the same structure. Every year, council should conduct a performance review of your administrator, one person, that's all you're assessing. And if you don't have a standardized format, drop me a note, Cindy can do that, and I'll send you a performance review format. Council approves the direction, the bylaws, the resolutions. You think about all this. Council approves the policies, the code. Council liaises with the community through formal and informal communication. Council recruits, appoints, guides, and assesses the CAO. And then the CAO recruits, appoints, supervises, and assesses senior managers and the rest of the organization, the staff. Council has considerable control over what's going on in the Calvin Township. All of what transpires during your term of office is yours. You can't blame it on staff. You can't blame it on individuals. You can't even blame it on the mayor. It's the council's responsibility. So what you achieve on behalf of the community, it's yours. How you communicate outward, it's yours. How well you get along, well, of course, that's up to you. You're the ones that are accountable. You should avoid the traps. Stay away from the silly games. Don't play gotcha with management. You know the question you're going to ask, but you don't phone them in advance to let them know, which is the courteous thing to do. You just hit them with a surprise question partway through the discussion, and you expect them to flop because they won't know the answer because you've just come up with the question. Anyway, just, that's the kind of stuff that's gone on in far too many places across Canada. Doesn't do you any favors. It's not helpful to the community, and it doesn't make you look like a hero in the eyes of the public. Refrain from petty comments. Reflect high standards of conduct in and out of your chambers, and rise up to this particular challenge that I'm issuing you. I'm going to skip by governance models fairly quickly, other than to say that how you decide issues is your governance model. So do you decide with committees? Do you decide by taking an issue straight from the management desk to the council table? How do you decide issues? In some communities, there's lots of what's called ABCs, which are agencies, boards, committees. And in some communities, there's a very few. In the odd community, there may be none other than what's required by legislation, for example, a library board. Whatever model you choose is up to you. Whatever model you have, I would suspect has been inherited from the last council. Whether or not you keep that model is your choice. It outlines the options in terms of how you tackle a particular challenge, affords council the opportunity to make the right choice. The background documentation is provided, and that outlines what are the strengths and weaknesses, and council then makes its decision. Council should formalize its approach to whether we involve the public or we don't, and when we do, in what case do we do so. So I'm going to go through these again fairly quickly. What works? Good decision making. Council members prepare for each meeting, each topic. You got hopefully a hard copy probably in front of you. You got a few notes scrawled on the side of it. You're ready to get your point across, but you're also interested in hearing the opinion of others. Otherwise, you could stay home and mail in your vote, and that would save the community a small bit of money because you wouldn't have to get paid any honorarium because you're staying home. The case of most councils, they want to make sure they're fully prepared for the meeting, and they're really anxious to get their points across in the course of a particular debate. The key, of course, is to recognize that the debate is with other members of council. You're not debating the clerk treasurer. You're not debating the road superintendent. You're debating each other. The administration provides information. They aren't throwing it up there for debate. Council members accept council decisions. They don't pout, they don't storm out, they don't undermine, and they're pleased that they have such skilled and astute administration. They're happy they have you as staff. They may not always say that, but I'll guarantee you most of council is happy to have the staff that they have. What works is a positive tone at the top. You make sure that the public would see you as a council that's trying to get things done. It's not belly aching the whole time. It's not dumping on each other. It's respectful toward the mayors, respectful toward council members. The public will see all of you and they'll judge all of you. We want that to be positive. What works? Respect for management. The CEO should be reporting on accomplishments, on challenges. Council should get any confidential briefings from the CAO, or in your case, clerk treasurer. Council should illustrate respect, should stay out of the details, which means you're going to try to attempt to not undermine the administration. The mayor and the clerk treasurer should have a collegial relationship. It should be friendly, but it's not friends of. There's a distinction. The mayor should be able to ask questions, receive a briefing, but the mayor does not order the CAO around or the clerk treasurer around. Council as a whole does the evaluation. It's not a committee. It's not the mayor. It's all of council. What works is focus on results. You look at your reports, you make sure that you're getting good advice. You look at your strategic plan priorities. You ask yourself, are we getting things done? And then you report that outward to the public. Relationships on council, you see each other as colleagues. Whether you love each other or not, I would argue that you ought to be friendly. You ought to be respectful. You ought to recognize that the people sitting next to you are also trying to serve citizens as best they can. You should be respectful of the fact that you ran, you won, your motivations are similar to mine. I don't have to like you or become buddies. I don't have to agree with your position. I just need to listen. And because I'm mature, I'll respect you. I will hear you before I decide whether or not I'm in favor or opposed. That works. It works in terms of a sound relationship. And I'm saying these things, it might all sound to you to be pretty common sense, and I'm sure you're all working diligently to get along with each other. You're all being respectful of each other, I'm sure, but that's not the case in some communities across Canada. And so I get called in to try to put out fires and try to deal with the council members that can't stand each other, and they make it known in the middle of public meetings. It's sad, but it happens. You're also serve on these agencies, boards, and committees. I just want to make a couple of points, and then I'll probably jump to the end in terms of any discussion that we might have around any questions that you have. But you were there, when you serve on boards and committees, you're not there to chair a board or committee. You're there to serve as a liaison, which means you listen in, you can ask questions. I'd prefer you don't vote unless you're required to by a statute or by a bylaw. But you should be a liaison that takes messages back and forth. You're not the advocate. Whenever you serve on the museum board, the theater board, the Parks and Recreation Board, whatever it is in your community, you're not their advocate. Their chairman, which shouldn't be you, is the advocate. The reason you shouldn't be the chair is because you got your mind focused on council and the community as a whole. You didn't get elected to serve just one board or committee. You should refrain from making any commitments to act other than to simply make sure council gets the full picture. That's the only thing you're committed to. You ensure that the minutes of board meetings are placed on the council agenda, and you serve on committees as they're designated. You don't serve on their subcommittees. You know, they've got a personnel committee or a building committee or whatever, unless you're somewhat masochistic, in which case you like self-paying. But then if you do that, don't complain about how many meetings you have to go to because you're the one that's volunteered to take on additional duties. These people that are serving on agencies, boards, committees, that's their sole focus in the community in many cases. This is not your sole focus. Your primary focus is that of council. Your key principles, committee members have one focus, you have a multitude. You're first and foremost a council member. Your decision on how to vote is always at your discretion, and it should only be exercised at a council meeting. The decision on how long you serve should be council's or the mayor's. It's not something you campaign for, so you can't go back to council and say, I want to keep serving on the fill in the blank board, because that's not something you campaign for. You campaign for council. You began as a generalist. You should finish as a generalist, not as a specialist in any particular area. You might find finance more interesting than public works, so be it. But at the end of the day, you're elected to be a generalist, and that's how you should finish up your term as a councillor. When you're looking at how do you engage the public, you're trying to serve all of the citizens in the best manner possible. You're respecting their right to be heard. You're trying to act as one of them. You're not sort of above them all. You recognize the effect of the election. They chose you. You're not having to do a public opinion poll for every question because the public has already chosen you to make decisions. You should work collegially, find the best solution, and don't be directed by people that have loud voices, because typically their voices are loud because they don't have a very good argument, and so they simply increase the volume. Public elected you, you're their choice. That's a very important privilege. Social media shouldn't dictate council policy. And if that was the case, one or two bright people on social media would be seen there pulling the strings of all members of council. They'd be the puppet master. If there's any significant game-changing issue, you look for creative ways to engage the public. Pick out 20 people or so to attend a round table and have a good discussion on the issue. And always treat your management staff with respect at public meetings. Speak well of them so that the public understands that you're impressed by the people you have. There's always a question, did we hit the target? It's a great cartoon question, but there's a great quote by Peter Drucker, the great management guru of all time, who said, there's nothing more useless in life than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. So unfortunately, sometimes we get real efficient at doing things that are well past our pay grade. We should be not in them at all. So what's your legacy? What's the evidence that your footprints in the sand show for your journey? Do you have a council that functioned reasonably well? Are you hanging in there together, supporting each other, being collegial, being supportive, following the act? Do you have a meaningful strategic plan? Have you looked at policies? When you get into a discussion at council, do you say to yourselves, what's our policy here? You have good relationship between council and management? Increase respect for the public and their involvement. You got transparency so that whatever you're doing is open to the public unless it's a confidential matter. You resolve certain projects or certain issues. Your reputation is being enhanced over the last couple of years. You have a better relationship in the region than when you started on council. You had fewer arguments, less whining. We're in this together, less grandstanding. Fewer individuals taking credit for all that's good and all that's done. All members stand up for the right of each other to be heard. And at the end of the day, you look at your orientation, you improve it. You look at policies, you improve those. You look at your procedure bylaw and you see how can we do this better. You improve the strategic planning process. You improve your agenda building process, your budget, your governance model, code of conduct, public engagement strategy, communications, all of those things. And if any questions on any of that, because I know I'm covering this all really quickly, it's like drinking from the fire hose. You just make sure that Cindy gets a hold of me and I can send you some backup on any of the points and issues that I've made. And then I mentioned the fact that I've got a whole series of videos on my website, 8 videos for the combined price, I think, of $1,000. So they're very inexpensive. I'm involved with a mission to Romania, and you can find out information about that. It's a children's camp, Roots in Romania. Any money I receive from the videos or from the book sales through Municipal World, all of that goes to this children's camp in Romania, which my wife and I have visited, I think, 16 times in the last 25 years. We aren't Romanians, we aren't Hungarians, we were connected in a very indirect way, but that's our mission, to support it and get it up and running and help Gypsies and Hungarians and Romanians and so on. It's our way of trying to help the world be a little bit better place to live in. So that's the presentation that I wanted to finish. I'm interested in whatever you folks would like to have me chat about and discuss. There might be some issues generally that you think that you'd like me to respond to, in which case I'm happy to do that. Do I need to go back to any particular slide? Is there somebody that wants a particular slide? I'm happy to do that. Any questions, Mr. Mayor?
You're on mute, Mayor Pennell.
My question was, how important do you feel it is to have one individual looking over the rest of the staff in the municipality?
Yeah, I think that that's fairly significant. It's a system that's worked best across Canada. And when I say one individual, I don't mean an elected official. I mean the administrator. Call the person what you want in your community. I call the person the CAO, the Chief Administrative Officer. I've heard the person called administrator. I've seen some places in Ontario where it's the administrator / clerk / treasurer. If you're that small, you can do it that way, combine roles if you like. But I think it's important because otherwise council is trying to hold on to 2 separate parts of the organization. You tend to try to become experts in all of that, when in actual fact, the road superintendent, in my view, all due respect to him, who I haven't met, should be reporting through the clerk treasurer to council. And as long as that relationship is healthy, this works. If it's not healthy, the 2 of them have got to resolve things. So that the structure, Mr. Mayor, works if we allow it to work. If not, you've got individual councillors who take it on themselves to become managers when they're not elected to be managers.
Right. Okay, thank you.
So there were,
I think I've seen Sandy's hand up. Is Sandy's?
Yep. My
Oh,
question is, with small communities like ours, we are friends and family, and it's hard to separate that at times. So how do we keep council on track with the thinking of our decision making is supposed to be for the whole community, how it benefits the whole community, not just somebody we may know, or it's hard to do that when you're friends and family and people that you spend time with. What is your best advice on how to keep council on track with the proper thinking?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Sandy, and I'm not unmindful of the challenges of small communities. I've dealt with communities 500 population and up, and maybe even smaller than that. I know it's different than dealing in a community of 35,000 and up. You've got different dynamics at play, and particularly you are in the face of the people that you're governing on behalf of. That becomes the issue. And you need to be able to, it's called designing the Chinese wall, which is an old expression that says we put a box around our relationships personally while we're serving on council, and we focus on what's in the best interest of the public while I'm serving as a councillor. If you want me to look after your best interests as the greater operator, then you wait until I'm off council and I'll go to bat for you in front of council. At the moment, I'm on council. My job is to reflect the best interests of the whole municipality, whatever the total population is today, and not one individual or one family. And I'll guarantee you that, for example, I've done work with Métis settlements that have been set up here in Alberta, 8 of them, helped establish all of them, did the governance training for all of them. What's the biggest issue they face now, 25 years later? Same point you're making. They are in very small communities, and the such and such family is now elected, and this family is now out, and so they fire all the administration, bring all their friends into the office, and try to pay them at the same rate. They have no training, no background, and they wonder why it all falls apart. They've had me do this discussion, they've had me do governance training, and they go right back to family tribal politics. And by and large, it does not work. Now, I'm not unmindful of the fact that it's present, and I'm not about to change the world. So I'm trying to give them some tools to make it a little bit better. But you have to be able to just simply look somebody in the face that's a delegation and say, you know, I know you're my neighbor. I know you're my friend across the street. I know I sit next to you in the pew at church. I'm trying to make a decision based on what I think is in the best interests of our community. That's what I need to do. It's like the discussions that you have today with people that are in favor of vaccination, opposed to vaccination. So now you got friends on both sides of that coin. How do you handle it? Well, you say to your friend, you know, I want to keep a friendship. And I don't want to become polarized because of how I think and how you think on this one issue. I'd like to keep a friendship. I have the same dilemma when I talk to friends in the States, because some of them are strong Democrats, some are strong Republicans. How do I handle that? I have my own point of view, my own values in life that I try to espouse, but I try to stay clear of dragging them into the mud at the same time. If you want to maintain a friendship, you put a box around it. And you don't interfere with individuals. You don't go to bat for the one employee who phones you and says, Sandy, old buddy, old pal, you know, I need to get my daughter a job in the community. You guys have got some jobs that you're advertising. You know, if only you remember the time I helped you when your daughter's looking for a job there at Safeways or wherever, or at the post office. Well, now it's your turn to pay up and you can help me. All of that goes on behind the scenes. If nobody's saying it, it goes on. You need to be able to be strong enough to say, you know, I took an oath. I swore an oath to office. And this is what it means. In some ways, by the way, and I'd say this to Cindy, I would be trying to put some did you know statements on the website to say this is what your council is involved in doing. This is what they ought to be committed to. This is what our code of conduct says. And each week or each 2 weeks, I'd put a separate message on there saying, what do you need to know about how this council functions? We have a mayor and councillors. Does that mean the mayor controls everything? No, the mayor is the chair of the board. The mayor speaks and the mayor's voice is considered a bit louder than everybody else's. But you know, your mayor is a very kind person. He's a very decent person. Doesn't like saying no. But from time to time, he has to vote no because he knows it's not in the best interest of the municipality as a whole. That's the way this works. Is it simple? Absolutely not. And there's an old expression that says, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And it sort of applies. But I know it's tough. And I dealt with people who said to me, George, I've given up because I'm fighting too many battles with friends and neighbors, and I don't like fighting battles. I've got enough battles at my place of employment. The last thing I want to do is come home, have dinner, and go to another battle. And that's why it's important you folks get along, that you folks find ways to resolve problems amicably, rather than hiring expensive folks to come in and resolve it for you. You need to be resolving them amicably. And I just got called yesterday by a community in Manitoba dealing with major problems saying, George, we need somebody to be the referee, and we chose you. You know, it's costing them money because I'll send them a note and say, yeah, I'll take it on, I guess. I'm not keen to, by the way. I'd rather do what I do, but I'll take it on. It's going to cost you money to resolve this problem. One of you is going to be right. One of you is going to be wrong. I'm not a mediator. I'm an arbitrator. I call a spade, whether people like it or not. Anyway, I just, you know, that's my observation, Sandy, and it's not simple. And I commend all of council for being council. What I don't commend is bad behavior, but I commend people that are prepared to step up to the plate. Do your best. Argue your best. And then say, the vote was not in my favor. Let's move on. People after 12 years with me as mayor could not have told you one issue that I lost in Spruce Grove, my home community. Not one. They would not have remembered one time that I lost a vote. Did I ever lose a vote? Yeah, I lost a few. You know why they won't remember? Because I never went back and revisited it. I presume that my colleagues were right. I kept swearing in favor of democracy, which is 4 beats 3. In your case, 3 beats 2. It's called council democracy. Anyway, next, if there is a next. I had a question sent to me directly. You know, there's a question about what should council know from management. And I think council should be your small community. I think Cindy should have a role in saying to the council, you know, here's an update. You know, we've got 20 employees. We've got right now, because of the pandemic, we've had 15 working at home. We only have 5 that are actually at the job site or whatever, driving around in their grader because they're self-isolated anyway. But, you know, we've got folks working at home, and here's how I keep a track on their time. And I think all of them are being really committed. What are they lacking? Well, they're lacking some degree of camaraderie and fellowship because there's no coffee pot where we all gather around. There's no group discussions other than a formal one over Zoom. Well, so yeah, but you know, by and large, they're doing a good job. Is there any overtime being paid? Yeah, we have. Historically, over the last 10 years, we paid overtime every year. It's either that or we hire more employees. So rather than having the full-time cost of an employee, we've decided to pay some overtime. I monitor it, says Cindy. So does the road superintendent. We keep an eye on it. We try to make sure nobody takes advantage of that, and we do our best. Is that something council needs to be leaning in on? Well, if you have a whole huge mistrust of everyone, I guess that's what you do. You lean in on details. I think it's a fool's game, by the way. So to me, it's virtually useless. I've had people go through the budget line by line, and by the time they finished, they added in more money than they took out. So, you know, it just becomes after a while a foolish errand in many ways. So, does council have the right to know how many sick days somebody's taking? That's a personnel item. That's not a council item. Those items should be dealt with by the clerk treasurer as the acting CAO, and that should be kept as a personnel file. It's like performance reviews. Who should see those? Well, the council sees the clerk treasurer, and in this case, maybe the road superintendent. Other than that, you don't see anybody. Why not? Because they don't report to you. It's a basic level of report. Who reports up, that's who you see. In the case of most municipalities across Canada, 4,000 of them, most municipalities would have one employee reporting to council. That's who council has a relationship with, is that one employee. If anything's going to go wrong, it's right there. You do the performance review of a Cindy Peugeot, that's it. You're done. What about Cindy? She does everybody else in the office. What about your road superintendent? He does people out in the field. Who does the road superintendent? I think it should be Cindy as your CAO/clerk treasurer. I don't care what the title is. The main emphasis would be, Cindy, you're it, you're managing. Get somebody else to take the minutes at a council meeting. We can train somebody to do that in about 2 meetings. We want you there to give us advice. That's how this should work. I think that's probably the questions that I had, at least, and I wrote back, I diligently went through all of the questions that were asked that were sent to me by E4M, and so you'll have a copy of all of those, I trust. and I tried to respond to all of them. If there is any question on my responses, you'll get back to me, I'm sure, through Cindy, probably preferably. Any other questions? I don't want to leave you sensing that somehow I missed something or you had a burning question that you didn't ask. Now's the time. Mr. Mayor, I can see your lips, but I can't hear the volume.
Went mute. Sorry.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Cox? I don't see anyone. All right, so I want to take
Thank
this
you very
opportunity
much.
to thank you again for
Thank you for having me.
been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
Best wishes to all of you.
Thank you.
You as well.
To get back to Cindy here.
I'm trying to exit out the meeting, but it's taken a while.
Okay, we'll move on. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is a report from municipal officers, of which we have none. After that, we have reports from committees, of which we have none, and then we have our action letters. First, under action letters is A. We need to adopt the minutes of Tuesday, August the 3rd special council meeting, regarding the strategic plan. So we have a resolution to do so. I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Olmsted, can you move that one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second that one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution, moved by Councillor Olmsted, second by Councillor Cross, that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Tuesday, August the 3rd, be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any comments on that? Councillor Shiplin?
No comments.
Councillor Maxwell?
No comments?
Councillor Olmsted?
No comments.
And Councillor Cross?
No comments.
Okay, so I'm going to call that to a vote. So I need a yes or no vote on accepting the minutes of the special meeting of Tuesday, August the 3rd. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is minutes of the council meeting to adopt minutes of Tuesday, August, a special council meeting, go forward strategy with Mr. George. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this as well. I don't know how come I hear an echo, but I do. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one?
Yes, again?
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell and seconded by Councillor Shipman that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Monday, August the 9th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Councillor Maxwell. Okay, Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion, thanks.
Councillor Shiplin
No discussion.
and Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on this one. That the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Monday, August the 9th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Do you vote yes or no, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, Councillor Olmsted,
Yes.
and Councillor Shipman.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item on the agenda is to adopt the minutes of the Tuesday, August the 10th, 2021 meeting of council. So we should have a resolution for that too, of which I'll require a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipman, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, August the 10th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed and circulated. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Okay. Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call for a vote that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on August the 10th be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted
Yes.
and Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is item number D. It's Councillor Maxwell. He has requested to be put on the agenda regarding comments from last meeting. Councillor Maxwell?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to just comment that last week I said something inappropriate at the meeting. I said a slightly disrespectful line, which I don't want to repeat it because I don't want to draw more attention to it, but it was disrespectful to the mayor and to the position, and I want to apologize for that. It's not the type of councilor I want to be, and I slipped up on there, and I'm going forward, I will definitely be more cautious on how I speak and not let my quick words come out unexpectedly. So I just want to say that going forward, I'll be trying harder, and I'll be more be watching my quick remarks, and I won't be using those anymore. And I apologize to the mayor and to the chair for being out of line.
Anything further, Councillor Maxwell?
No, that's all I want to say.
Okay.
I did say one more thing, actually. I just wanted to say that what brought this attention is that I was alerted by some of our residents. I'm really proud that our residents are really taking an active role in watching our meetings online, and I think we've really succeeded at getting more involvement in meetings, which for years have been a problem. But I look at some of our videos and I see over 100 people watching them, or at least viewing them, and I think that's really, we did a good job in doing that. The other side is that we're on, we have to be very careful because people are actually listening to what we say now.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you for that. I don't want to dwell on this, but I think I need to comment. I think it seems to me you're trying to make amends for the comments you made at the August the 10th meeting, and I can appreciate that. But the fact is that the comments were disrespectful towards me and in my role as mayor and head of council, and I can see that it violated a couple of different areas in a code of conduct. There's one in there about conduct at meetings, and another one about respecting others. So I just need to say that our code of conduct is of utmost importance, and we all need to follow it. And it's not my intention to lodge any complaint against you for anything you might or might not have said. I just want to remind everyone that our actions and the comments we have to look at and follow our code of conduct moving forward at all times. Okay, so thank you again. Okay. All right. So next item on the agenda is item E, and it's Municipality of Calvin Landfill Department, and there's an item here for landfill attendant position. So we're going to need a mover and a seconder before we can move forward to discuss this. So Councillor Maxwell, could I get you to move this one, please?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. And Councillor Olmsted, could you second this?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have this resolution in front of us, moved by Councillor Maxwell, second by Councillor Olmsted. Council hereby acknowledges that the municipality has advertised for a part-time landfill attendant position within a landfill department. The hiring committee for this position will consist of the recreation, cemetery, landfill manager, the clerk treasurer, and we need to have a member of council. Is there anyone from council that's willing to or would like to sit on this committee? Anybody? Okay. I see 3 hands, which is really great. Okay. Councillor Shipman beat everyone, though, so if it's okay with everyone, we'll appoint her to that position. Yes? Councillor Cross? Okay, thank you. The hiring committee for this position will consist of recreation, cemetery, landfill manager, the clerk treasurer, and Councillor Shipman as a member of council. Any discussion on this? Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Cross.
I'm just curious to know if the ad has been put out, and will the interviews be during the day or at nighttime?
Cindy, can you respond to that, please?
The ad has been placed in the flyer and is on our website. It will also be going into the Mattawa Recorder, hopefully for the Monday edition, August the 30th. Whether they're during the day or in the evening will be determined on everybody's time schedule is. Yeah, the committee will discuss when the best time for everybody is to have the interviews and go from there.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Cross?
Yes, it did.
Do you have any questions, Councillor Ship?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So I'm going to call for a vote that we accept these members as the hiring committee. Councillor Olmsted, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I'm assuming Councillor Shipman would vote yes, but I'm going to ask.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. This resolution is carried, and these are the members of the hiring committee for our part-time landfill department attendant. So next item on the agenda is it's item number F. It's concerning National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September the 30th. AMO sent out a recommendation for a resolution on this. Cindy had also prepared one. She had asked which way we wanted to proceed, either with hers or with AMO's, and I don't know if everyone responded or not. But before we discuss this, I'll need a mover and a seconder, okay? Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. This is a kind of a long one, but I'll read it. So we have the resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Shipman. Whereas the federal government has passed Bill C-5 in June 2021 to allow for creation of a statutory, my pictures are in the way, just a second here, of a statutory holiday called a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September the 30th. And whereas this day was meant to be a day for Canadians to spread awareness of and reflect on the tragedies experienced by Indigenous people as a result of the country's former residential school system, and whereas the holiday is in line with one of 94 calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee that states, we call upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish as a statutory holiday a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation to honor survivors, their families, and communities, and ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. Be it resolved that the Council hereby requests the Clerk Treasurer to amend the employment and hiring policy to include this as a statutory holiday recognized by the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin. So I'm going to call for discussion on this. Councillor Olmsted, any discussion?
So I agree with it in theory. So do you have to be Indigenous to get the holiday off? Like, how is that going to work?
No.
Just for, no?
It's a federal holiday.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. Something
Like
good's
say,
got to come with all the
November
bad.
11th is a federal holiday, so most federal
Right.
employees get that day off. So if you were a federal employee, in that respect, you have the day off. But this resolution is asking that the municipality of Calvin accept it as well. It is being accepted by a lot of municipalities and recommended by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. So that's all I'm going to say. Councillor Maxwell.
I'd like to defer it and see the other resolution that they have put forward. I'm definitely in favor of respecting the concerns that the issue deals about. I'm just not sure that it's our position to be declaring a statutory holiday. I'd rather see the federal government declare that holiday first, and then we move forward following them. But it just seems odd that we would make a statutory holiday. It's a very important day. Once you make those, they're there forever. And I don't know if this should be done like that. I'm not in favor of this the way it is. But I'd like to consider. Do we have a copy of the other one came by email, so I don't have a copy of it to compare it. But the other one didn't seem to mention the word statutory holiday. It just said National Day of Truth. I didn't see the word statute there, but I'd have to look at I'd like to be able to see the other resolution and probably defer this one and take a look at that one.
I believe the federal government has declared this a holiday. Okay, it was done in June. All right. So that part of your comment has already been taken care of. All right.
So September 30th is now. So I'm just to clarify. Sorry for cutting you off. The September 30th is already a statutory holiday this year, like Christmas and Easter. Like one of those holidays?
Same thing, only different, yeah.
I didn't hear that.
It
Okay.
is considered, the federal government has declared it a holiday, right? Any further comments?
Is this going to be a 1-year thing, or is this like forever from now on will be considered?
It's a forever thing.
Yeah. It's
one of the 94
Yeah.
calls to action.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I know it's a very tragic situation of that, but I don't think it's a statutory holiday issue right now. That's how I feel about it. I'm very sensitive to the issue here, though. I'm not trying to just take away anything from the issue. I just don't think it's a statutory holiday. Yes.
So for what reason don't you think it is?
Because we only have 11 statutory holidays a year. It's Christmas, Easter. They're big dates. They're big. I would think it should be more like Remembrance Day. I think Remembrance Day. I don't think it's a statutory holiday, but it's kids are in school on Remembrance Day, so they get educated in school. It should be more acknowledged like Remembrance Day, not a day off for all the country who, we're kind of the responsible for doing that, and so we give ourselves all a holiday. A day off work for it should be like Remembrance Day. I think I feel it should be more like Remembrance Day, where it's acknowledged and thought about.
Okay. Okay. The points are here of what they tried to make to get this holiday recognized. Councillor Cross, do you have any comments?
I have no comments, no.
Okay, and Councillor Shiplin?
I just wanted to, since Councillor Maxwell didn't get the email from the AMO, basically the second last paragraph says, and whereas the federal government has announced September 30th, 2021 as the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, and a statutory holiday. And then it be resolved that council of the municipality of whichever fill in thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this is coming from.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so this is a resolution. It has been moved and seconded, so everybody's had a chance to discuss it, so I'm going to bring it to a vote. Councillor Cross, do you vote? Hello? Okay, Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept this resolution?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Well, I don't. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? And Councillor
Yes.
Shiplin?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. We have quite a large number of Indigenous people in our community, so I think it's important that we recognize this day and share that with them. Okay? So thank you for passing this. Okay, so next item on the agenda is a report from the clerk treasurer. It's item number G, and it's concerning vote by mail. So I'm going to pass that over. We did get a report on this already. So I'm going to pass it over to Cindy. You want to talk on it a little bit? Share the good points and the savings that we can achieve by doing this?
Sure. So I've been talking to a number of other municipalities, and many of the municipalities in the region are moving towards a vote by mail versus the typical way of voting. The clerk, from Callander, who used to also work in Temagami, he has had quite a bit of experience with this, says it's it's less expensive, it's less taxing on staff time, it's easier for our constituents, for those who live in town and are in the community and would still like to actually drop their ballot off in a box. They're still able to do so. We would have a box at the front desk, and they could come in and drop the vote in the sealed box. But it would also give the opportunities for those who don't live in the community, who typically aren't able to vote because they can't come from wherever they live, North Bay, Sudbury, wherever, you know, because they're voting in their own community, they can't come here as well. So it would give them an opportunity to also vote as well. So far I've heard mostly benefits. It's less expensive. It's easier for constituents, you know, things like that, as I've outlined in the report. It's less staff time involvement. We don't have to hire extra people to help us with it on the advanced polls or the day of voting, et cetera. So it's just something that I thought I would present to council and recommend that we do. But again, it's a council decision whether we move forward with it or not.
So we do have a resolution on this, so let's get a mover and a second on it first. So if there are any questions or any discussion with Cindy, we can do that. So can I get you to move this one, Councillor Croft?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, could you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we've heard Cindy's explanation. Does any discussion or any questions anybody wants to ask of her? Councillor Olmsted.
No, it sounds like it makes sense.
Councillor Maxwell.
It does make a lot of sense financially. I understand that. I think that our constituents may be a little upset with the change. I'm just feeling that they may not like the change. Some people are traditionalists and they like to come down here on voting day and put an X on and walk through the line and get checked off. So there may be some people that won't be happy with it. But that's something that we have to live with if we decide to go forward with this. I'd like to think about it a bit more, actually.
Okay. It was in our package. Councillor
just like to talk some
Croft, any comments or questions?
I like the idea that it would make voting more inclusive and convenient for a lot of people. Might have a better, better turnout. I don't know if we have any money in reserves for the election, because I know that in our package there was a comment made about that. So I do have that's one question. And the next question is basically how much would it save us? And I know that Cindy would probably have to do somewhat of a report on that. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
Do you have any of that information off the top of your head, Cindy?
No, I do not.
Okay. Councillor Shipman, your ideas on this?
Well, I think it's probably a good idea. The more people we can get out to vote, the better the community is represented, right? So I just have a question though, because you had said, Cindy, something about people living in different communities, so they're voting in whichever community they live in, and then so they can't make it here to vote. You're allowed to vote in 2 different communities, or 5 if you live in or have houses in 5 different communities. Is that the way this works?
Yep.
If you own property, you own property in a community, you're entitled to vote.
Okay. Cool. All right. But yeah, I agree in theory. It would just be nice to know how much it would it would cost or what the difference in cost would be. And
Okay. So it sounds like we want to defer this one for one meeting, right? There was a couple questions about if we determine what the saving would be and how much work would be saved. And then Councillor Maxwell also wanted to think about it a little bit. So if we can bring it, yes, Cindy?
Well, that's sort of what this recommendation is, for me to move forward with a report and dive a little further into the cost.
Okay.
You can still defer it. I'm just stating that's what this resolution is.
Wait, I misunderstood that, sorry. So then I think I'm going to call for a vote then to have the clerk, Treasurer Cindy, do some research and come back to us with a report. So I'm going to call for a vote on that. Do you agree for the clerk to perform that research, Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Shippen,
yes.
Councillor Maxwell,
Yes.
and Councillor Cross.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thanks, everyone. This resolution is carried. Our next item on the agenda is it's a consent, Bitchkin consent, 2021-23. Everyone's had a chance to review it, I assume. Okay. Any comments? Well, let's get a mover and seconder first. Okay, so Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell and seconded by Councillor Olmsted. This application for consent number 2021-23 in the name of Bidskin has been filed with the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as Concession 2, Part Lot 10, misspelled of Calvin, to create a residential lot of 17.13 acres approximately, located at the west corner of Homestead Road and Stewart's Road at 834 Homestead Road in the municipality of Calvin, Mattawa, Ontario. For Homestead Road is a year-round maintained municipal road, and Stewart's Road is a seasonally maintained road. Now therefore, the Council of the Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Nipissing Planning Board give provisional consent to this application, and the Public Works Superintendent must be contacted for entrance permit and for locate of entrance on the retained piece of property, if required, as well as if a new entrance is required for the severed piece that is different than the existing entrance off of Homestead Road. A copy of the completed survey for the lot addition shall be provided to the municipality in both digital format and hard copy. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
I noticed on the map that it doesn't show an entranceway to this piece of property. And I know that they would have to discuss with the road department if they have a driveway coming off the Stewart's Road or not, but it doesn't show if entranceway to this property either or, which makes me wonder, is there going to be two houses with only one driveway? But otherwise, I mean, that's the only question that kind of came up in my head here. But I mean, it was approved by the planning board, so I'm fine with it. I was just curious about that, that's all.
It's my understanding that there is no drive there at this point. If a driveway was requested by the owner, they would have to follow our municipal rules and work with the road superintendent to establish a location for that to occur. Okay. Councillor Maxwell, any comments?
Just to clarify that I'm on the planning board. This is not approved yet. It's being circulated for comment, and the comments are brought back to the board, and then it's approved after that.
Right.
I have no comment on it myself. It looks fine.
Okay. Councillor Shippen?
Well, I noticed in their description of subject land and servicing information, they're saying that there's a house and 4 outbuildings, but their diagram, if I'm reading this right, only shows 2 outbuildings. So I'm just kind of curious where the other 2 buildings are. Unless I'm just not reading this right.
Oh, shit. I see 3 there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because like the house is there, but there's only 2 outbuildings. So where are
Yeah.
the other 2 in relation to the rest of?
Don't know. But I think what we're concerned with is that, yeah, okay, that's a concern, for sure.
Well, I just don't know where the buildings are in relation to the houses that are already there. Like, I mean, I know they say that they're all 50 meter, all the new lot lines are 50 meters from buildings minimum, but I don't know where the other buildings are.
I think we can ask that question, right? Because you're right, I don't see the other building. No idea. Okay, so let's ask that question. We have a meeting tomorrow night with the planning board, so we can put that question to tomorrow night.
Okay.
Okay? So I guess I'm not sure how to proceed here now. Do we defer this or until we get that information? I'm thinking so, because we can't clarify what we've been provided, right? So we need some clarification to come back to us in order to have this move ahead. So is everybody in agreement to deferring this until we can get a response from the East Nipissing Planning Board about the location of the remaining building that isn't on the diagram? Councillor Maxwell?
I would pass it the way it is. The planning board looks after that. They do look into all the details of it, and I think if it's something, a small detail like that will be picked up by the board if there's an issue with that setbacks from the building.
Correct, but this resolution is asking us to give approval to the application.
Okay,
and
so
the diagram that we've been provided isn't accurate. Okay, so we're saying that until we get an accurate diagram, then we're going to defer that decision. That's my understanding of what we've been talking about.
Sure, and I'm saying that I'm prepared to accept the recommendation the way it is. That the motion in front of us is
Okay.
prepared to.
Councillor Cross, what's your decision? Do we defer or do we accept it as it is?
I think the information should be accurate, what we're looking at, and I don't like agreeing to something that may have, so I think we should defer.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
I see both sides, but yeah, deferral seems to make sense.
Okay, and Councillor Shipley?
Yeah, I think we should defer.
Okay, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, and I vote defer as well, so that's 4 for defer.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for that, everyone. Okay. Next item on the agenda is an agreement with infrastructure program, ICIP, for funding for roof and siding for public works garage. And this one here, it's time sensitive. If we don't pass this, then we're going to miss the deadline for the funding. So I'm going to ask that we do the 3 readings tonight. Want to make sense to do that. Or we won't be able to move ahead with the project. So I'll need a mover and a seconder on the first reading. So Councillor Shipman, can you second this? Can you move this one, please? Hello?
Frozen.
Councillor Shipman?
Frozen.
Hi there.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know why I can see all of you and hear you, so I don't.
We could see you. You were just kind of frozen there, you know. Anyway, thank you. Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have the first reading, this being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin, investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIF, COVID-19 Resilient Infrastructure Stream, Local Government Intake Stream Projects. Okay? So I'm going to see if there's any further discussion on this one. Councillor Cross, do you have anything you'd like to discuss or bring forth?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted.
I did have a couple of questions. So I guess page 22, under the insurance. So, doesn't the construction company have to provide their insurance?
Yeah, they would. They'd have to supply WSIB and insurance,
Right.
construction insurance.
Yeah.
I think we
So
talked
this is
to our engineer about that kind of thing at the last meeting, and he said they would have to meet the standards and have all the insurances in place in order to do that.
right. So that's basically my only concern was whether they have insurance for or we are insuring. I don't. That's all.
So they would have to have insurance.
Okay.
Councillor Shipley.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the first reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote to accept the first reading, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipley, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the first reading has passed. Okay, it's been carried. So I'll need a mover for the second reading as well. So how about Councillor Olmsted? Can you move this one, please?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And this is the second reading moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Cross. It's the same bylaw, second reading, to authorize the execution of the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin, investing in Canada, Infrastructure Program, ICIP, COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream, Local Government Intake Stream projects. I'm going to ask if there's any discussion on this as well. Councillor Cross, any discussion?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell, any discussion?
No discussion.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, any discussion?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shippen.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote on the second reading. Do you vote yes or no to accept the second reading, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Discussion. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you very much. Second reading is carried. So I'll need a mover and a seconder on the third reading. So Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shippen, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. So we have the third reading, moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Shippen, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin, investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream, Local Government Intake Stream projects. As reported by Committee of the Whole, to be read a third time, passed the number 2021-21, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk sealed with the seal of the Corporation and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call for a vote on the third reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept the third reading?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no to accept the third reading?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shippen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this reading is carried as well. The bylaw is carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item K, and it's agreement with PSD Citywide Inc. For Regulation 588 compliant asset management plan and data enhancements. This is also a bylaw that I'm going to ask that we do the three readings tonight so that we can get these things out of the way and get them done. We need to get this work taken care of. So I need a mover and a seconder for the first reading. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And Councillor Olmsted, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this bylaw, first reading, moved by Councillor Cross, second by Councillor Olmsted. This is a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between PSD Citywide Inc. and the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin, re Ontario Regulation 588, bracket 2024, Compliant Asset Management Plan and Data Enhancement Projects Charter. to receive and read the first time. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross, any discussion or questions?
No, comment, no.
No? Councillor Maxwell, any discussion or questions?
No comment.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, any discussion or questions?
Well, that's really expensive. $1,600 a day. I have that question. How do we have an idea how much it's going to cost? Do they have a ballpark figure to do our asset plan?
Mayor Pennell, can I answer that question?
Yes, please.
So this was approved in the budget. So we're getting funding from FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, for $50,000. It was approved in our budget. This is something that was approved earlier in the year that we would move forward with. We are going to have to put up approximately $14,000. I don't remember the exact dollars and cents. I would have to look that up for you and get that at a later date, but it's approximately $14,000. But this was approved in the budget. So
Okay.
Majority of the funding is coming from the FCM grant.
Thank you.
Am I correct that we're mandated to complete this?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Okay, so these are the people we hired to help us with that, right? Because it is mandated by the government. Any other questions? Councillor Shipman?
No questions.
Okay. So I'm going to call for a vote on the first reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. I vote yes as well. So the first reading is carried. Next we have second reading of same bylaw. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. So Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So
Yes.
we have second reading, moved by Councillor Shipman, second by Councillor Maxwell. And this is a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between PSC Citywide Inc. and a corporation of the municipality of Calvin, Ontario Regulation 588, bracket 2024, compliant asset management plan and data enhancement project charter. And this is the second reading. Any discussion on this reading, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell? No? Okay.
No.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
No.
Okay.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham? No?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call the second reading for a vote. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no for the second reading? To agree with the second reading?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this second reading is carried. Then we have the third reading. So I'm going to need a mover and seconder for this as well. So Councillor Shipman, can I get you to move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So this one here is also open for discussion. Councillor Cross, any discussion?
I do have a question to the importance of why we're doing 3 readings on this instead of just the 2. I understood the first one we just did so we could get the funding, but is like this time sensitive? Is it going to cost us money? Just asking.
Do you have a response for that, Councillor? No. Cindy?
There is no time constraint like there was on the past one, on the last one. However, there is a time constraint to actually complete the project. The funding was available as of June, sometime in June, I can't remember the exact date. It's now August. I've just received this agreement from PSB. There will also be an agreement that will have to pass from FCM, and this all has to take place before July 1st, 2022. It was actually supposed to be done July 1st, 2021, but because of COVID, they extended the deadline for this section of the project, the asset management project, to July 1st, 2022. And according to PSB, it will take the majority of this time in order to complete this section of the project. So it's more, we need to get going on it as soon as possible, but we can't go forward with it until we sign the agreement with PSB.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell, any questions?
No, I would like to go forward with the third reading. I think it's important to get this type of stuff out of the way.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
I agree.
Okay, and Councillor Shippen?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call for a vote to agree with the third reading or to pass the third reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Yes. And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
Yes.
So I vote yes as well. So this this bylaw is passed. Thank you very much. All right. Next on our agenda is L. It's an agreement with BS Marketing for website upgrades. Okay. So we have another bylaw, and it's in front of us now. It's a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between BS Marketing and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin for a website upgrade service agreement. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this one, please. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted, could you second this one, please?
Yes.
Okay, so first reading moved by Councillor Maxwell, second by Councillor Olmsted. This bylaw to authorize the execution agreement between BS Marketing and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin. It's a website upgrade service agreement. We have some requirements to get this done. I think we're already behind on some of them. Cindy, would you have an upgrade on some of the things that we need to get done right away to be compliant?
Okay, so our website, when we were talking about, when we were talking about this during budget talks, it's also been included in the budget as well and was approved with the budget. Our website needs to be AODA compliant, which it is currently not. It was supposed to be AODA compliant as of January 1st, 2021, but it was not in the 2020 budget.
What's OADA, Cindy?
Oh, I'm sorry, accessibility for Ontario.
Disabilities?
Accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities is what AODA stands for. So things like when they click on a PDF, you have to be able to change the size. So if someone is visually impaired, they can increase the size of the writing so that they can read it. Also some hearing impaired regulations, things like that. We were also, because of COVID, we also discussed adding a way in which people can use a debit card on our website. A lot of people are now using to use debit cards. This was something that we were exploring before, but had heard it because of the expense of it. This particular option through the website, there's still a 3% charge, but actually we can either choose to eat the 3% charge, or we can pass it on to the person using service. At the present time, with the one that we have on our website currently, we pass the charge on to the person using the service. But the one on our website currently only allows credit cards, whereas this option would allow debit card use as well as credit card use. So it's relatively inexpensive. There's I believe it's a 30 cent charge for the transaction, and then a 3% on whatever it is. And again, we can choose to eat that cost, or we can choose to pass it on to. My recommendation would be to pass it on, because that's what we've been doing up until this point.
Yeah. Pay for convenience, right?
Right.
And the funding for this, Cindy?
We had some money left over from our modernization funding, the $206,800 that we received that was not used. And so it was decided at budget time that we would allot $10,000 to this particular project to upgrade the website for AODA compliance, as well as add this additional feature for our.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions, Councillor Cross?
No other questions.
Councillor Maxwell?
You're muted.
Can't hear you, sir. You're on mute. Okay.
Thank you. It's a good idea to have our website upgraded. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
No, it sounds like a good plan. Yes.
Okay. And Councillor Shiplin?
No comments, questions.
Okay. I'm going to call a vote on the first reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to execute this agreement with VS Marketing? Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, yes or no, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
Yeah, I vote yes as well. So we'll have the second reading. So I'm going to require a mover and a seconder for this as well. So Councillor Olmsted, could you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Councillor Shippen, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So this is the second reading, moved by Councillor Olmsted, second by Councillor Shippen, a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between VS Marketing and a corporation, Municipality of Calvin, to upgrade our website and service agreement. So any discussion on this reading, Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call for a vote
Cindy's
on this reading to authorize this agreement. Hold, Cindy.
I just wanted to add the reason requested that we do 3 readings for this particular agreement as well is because this is in the budget. I'd like to have it completed before the end of the year and pay all the bills before the end of the year. And so therefore it essentially only leaves them 3 months to do this work in. I've asked them if it's possible for them to do it in the, sorry, not 3 months, 4 months. 4 months, and they said it'd be pushing it, but they should be able to do it. So there are other things. They're going to change the look of our website slightly to modernize it. They're going to upgrade the back door where we post things, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just things that I described, but those are the 2 main things that we need to have. I just wanted to let council know that that's also why I'm asking that 3 readings in 1 sitting.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to call the second reading for a vote, please. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to authorizing this agreement?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no on the second reading to authorize this agreement?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no on the second reading to authorize this agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I vote yes as well. So second reading is carried. We'll move on to the third reading. Councillor Maxwell, can I get you to move the third reading, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can I get you to second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is the third reading, moved by Councillor Maxwell, second by Councillor Cross, of this bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between BS Marketing and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin, a website upgrade service agreement, as reported by the Committee of the Whole, to be read a third time, passing number 2021-021, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the Corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion on the third reading? Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
And Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call the third reading on this to a vote to move forward to authorize the execution of this agreement. Do you vote yes or no, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I vote yes as well. So this third reading is carried and the bylaw is complete. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item M. It's a consolidation of council ideas for the zoning bylaw. I think we have passed on our thoughts to the clerk. Okay. So some items provided by us and some items that are provided by our staff. That we're open to discuss these, okay? I'll go down through, I'm going to start top down, all right? And then everybody, if they have anything to say, they can say it. I believe this one was, the first one needs to include information on Airbnbs and increase the number of recreational vehicles and storage containers as previously discussed. I had a black fly walking across my screen. Okay, so any discussion on that one? Any questions? Cindy?
So just for clarification, in previous sessions, in previous council meetings, For Airbnbs, a resolution was passed that we wanted to include this in some information in our zoning bylaw in regards to Airbnbs. So that's what that is there. I've already spoke to the planner who's putting together the zoning bylaw for us, and he has included in that. And it's actually going to be similar to that of what is in Matawan zoning bylaw, because it's also a good idea for us to have similar clauses in each of our zoning bylaws. One, because we have the same CBO, but two, because we're all in the same region, so if we all have similar rules and regulations, it makes things easier for our communities. Second, increase the limit on recreational vehicles and storage containers. So in discussions in 2018, 2019, 2020, there was a council decision to increase the number of recreational vehicles allowed on a property to. Same goes for storage units. Again, because of these previous discussions, I have asked our planner that put together the zoning bylaw to increase these numbers.
Can't hear you, Cindy.
Oh. Did you hear any of what I said?
Yeah, something about, the last I got was something about zoning bylaw, and then you've asked somebody to look at the numbers, and then you just kind of went dead.
Okay, so the previous discussions of council has indicated that the numbers of the recreational vehicles and storage containers be increased to 2.
Right.
So I've already requested from our planner to increase those numbers in the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that one? No? Okay.
Question.
Oh,
I have a
hi,
question.
Dan.
The
Maxwell?
size of the storage container, I think it's asked somewhere else, but the size
Yeah,
of the
down
storage
below.
container that it fits in with this storage container question.
The third bullet down below is a question about, are we only allowing 20-foot storage containers? And I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Is that something that we have to ask of someone, Cindy, or?
Well, that can be a council decision. If they choose to have up to 40-foot storage containers, that's council's prerogative. We just have to request it be included in the zoning bylaw from the planner. Currently, the way it's written, we only allow up to 20-foot storage containers.
You have to increase that.
I think it should be full size.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
I think it should be the option of the person who is purchasing a container, whether it be a 20 or a 40. Right?
I agree.
That's just my thought, but that's open to everyone.
I agree.
Councillor Cross, how do you feel on that?
I agree.
And Councillor Shippen?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we can request that that wording be changed to include both 20 and 40 foot. Okay. Next item here was need to be more vigilant with enforcement of our bylaws. I don't know where that one came from or what it pertains to. I have no idea what that pertains to. Okay, we do have a bylaw enforcement officer who does that along with a whole bunch of other things. And I know there's concerns with maybe animals at large, but I'm not sure what this is. There's different bylaws, right? So can anybody clarify? No? Cindy?
I think this was more pertaining to the property standards bylaw that we're also looking at. We have to enforce what our bylaws contain in them, so that means, you know, whatever's in the zoning bylaw has to be enforced, all that, and storage. I think it's just pertaining more to certain circumstances that have been taking place lately in the community.
Yeah, and we need to have a bylaw to be able to enforce it, right? And without a bylaw, there's not a lot you can do.
Right.
Okay, so I think that answers that one. Next item here on the agenda was swimming pools. Clause 4112, and it's we don't live in a residential area. Safety is the owner's responsibility. Anybody have
They want us to have
anything like to
sorry, I
elaborate?
put that one in.
Okay, can you explain, please?
So they want us to have 5-foot fences around our swimming pools, but that's hard because of where we live, and I don't think that. How can we enforce that too? And security is up to the owner, I think.
I don't know if, I know the fence used to be 4 foot and now they changed to 4'9", and I totally disagree with that, okay, because that increased the cost of the fence significantly because you can't use an 8-foot board anymore, you've got to buy a 10. So that's just something I don't agree with. I'm not sure if there would be a liability on the part of the municipality to require fencing around the pool if anyone should walk in, not just anyone, but anything, like an animal as well, can walk in and fall in the pool and then be injured, okay, or worse than injured. I know it's been in our other bylaws or whatever, so I'm not sure if it would be safe for us to take that out of there. Do you have any input on that, Cindy? Yes, no? Will we have to seek information from someone to find out?
I can check with the planner, but I do believe it's a standard clause that is highly recommended, that is in all zoning bylaws, regardless of the type of environment that you live in, because of the liability issues. So I can double check that it has to be in there. If it has to be in there, then it's obviously non-negotiable, but I can confirm with the planner whether it is a requirement.
I think it probably protects the homeowner a certain amount, but there no doubt there is an expense to do that, like for sure.
Yep.
Especially with the cost of
wood
lumber these days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. Parking rules are unnecessary, clause 4.25. Did that one come from you as well, Councillor Olmsted, or?
Well, so I just I noticed a couple of days ago, if somebody's tractor broke down and was there for a couple of days, you know, because it's hard to move those things, it breaks down. So I don't know if they're already going through the expense of not having their tractor during hay season, and then we're going to put parking tickets on them too. But, I think the parking rules we have are appropriate for down at Smith Lake and at the swimming hole. I think those parking rules are necessary, but I don't think any other parking rules should be. Then we're worried about enforcement as well, right?
Yeah. There might be some concerns for B&Bs or Airbnbs or multi-dwelling homes. I think we had a brief discussion on this a while back, a while ago, but Does anyone else have any concerns on that, or what should we do with that? Okay, nobody thinks parking rules are necessary? Cindy?
Again, I believe this is a standard clause that is in most zoning bylaws. Whether it's required or not, again, I can check with the planner to make sure. But also, when council's considering this, bear in mind, if we want growth in the community and things like that, this bylaw is not something that's changed on an annual basis. It's reviewed, or it can be reviewed. It has to be reviewed every 5 years, but it's in place for a significant amount of time, so you're trying to also plan for the future. So if there is growth and expansion and businesses and, you know, things like that that we all want to come to our community, this parking zoning clause might need to be in effect so that there are these rules in place. Again, I know it's a standard clause. Whether it's required or not, I can check with you.
Okay. Is that satisfactory, Councillor Olmsted?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the list is fireworks are prohibited. Why? Clause 428. I looked there and it was manufacturing of fireworks.
Oh.
That was my interpretation of it.
Okay.
So I think you would have to obtain a license in order to do that.
Great.
You
Okay.
couldn't input all
No,
your
then I
things
misunderstood.
for making firecrackers,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Sorry, I wasn't meant to be flippant. I was just, okay.
No.
Next item on the list is a minimum of 1,000 square foot buildings are expensive, and we shouldn't dictate what size people build as long as it's safe and to code. I totally agree with that. But we do have the, what do you call them, small houses, mini houses?
Tiny homes?
Yeah, whatever. Tiny. So that if anyone wanted to build a smaller home, they could do that, right? As long as they met the building rules. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that meet your? Okay.
Yes.
Then down below we have the following is a consolidation of thoughts and ideas of staff. And there's the first one is a better description of the seasonal dwelling. Yeah, I think so. Like, is it insulated? Does it have to be insulated? Does it need a steel roof? Does it need a flat roof or a peaked roof? Or what's the slope? Or, you know, I don't know what that is. But I think that would be probably appropriate. I don't know if there must be other municipalities and areas that have seasonal dwellings, so we could probably pick some items out, share some of their ways that they have dictated that. Would that be appropriate? Could you do that, Councilor? No, Cindy?
Yes, I can research other descriptions.
Yes. Does everybody else think that's appropriate or a good idea? I'm kind of rambling here. Nobody's saying anything. I feel kind of dictator. But throw up your hand in the air if you want to say something, okay? Clarification of 4.1.1.10. Deck is not an accessory on use unless detached from a dwelling. Is it an addition then? We have always classified it as an accessory when setting the fees for a deck. I think we need to investigate that for sure. Cindy?
So just so council's aware, this came from our CBO. I asked our CBO to review the zoning bylaw as well to make sure that he uses it on a daily basis when he's issuing building permits and all that sort of thing, he has to make sure that setbacks are appropriate for buildings and all that kind of thing. So this comes from our CBO, and he indicated that anytime he's ever priced out a permit for a deck, it's always been an accessory when he's setting the fees versus an addition. It actually would be similar in cost, but slightly more expensive if it's an addition.
It's slightly more expensive if?
If it's an excess. I gotta get the right word here. Sorry. We've always classified it as an accessory, not an addition. So if we had classified it as an addition, it would be slightly more expensive for someone to add a deck. So that's why he's always classified it as an accessory. And in his mind, it is an accessory to already existing home.
Okay. So then there's really no change required there then?
Well, the wording needs to change slightly
Okay.
because the way the planner's written it, it's an addition.
Okay.
If it's not, unless it's detached from the dwelling. It's not an accessory unless it's detached from the dwelling. So he wants clarification, essentially, from the planner. If it's not attached, which most decks are,
Right.
what is it then?
Okay.
So,
I think when I had mine done in North Bay, if it was attached, it was an addition, and if it was detached, it wasn't part of the house, it was an accessory.
Okay.
When I built mine in North Bay.
well, if council's okay with it, I would just like clarification from
Yeah.
the planner to make sure
Absolutely.
that we have it worded appropriately and he's priced and the CBO prices out
Yeah.
things accordingly.
If possible, I'd like to keep it as inexpensive as possible for anyone wishing to build a deck. Like if there's a cheaper option, then provide it to the owner so that they can make an informed decision if it's an accessory or an addition, and then move forward with that. I don't see any hands flying up in the air, so, okay. Then the next one we've already kind of talked about. So storage, the next one is 4.1.10.10 and 4.1.11.10. Storage containers shall meet the requirements of Ontario Building Code. What does this mean? Do they need a permit? Does it need to be anchored? Or does it need to have an engineer's stamp? Does that mean like it's being used for living quarters? Or, yes, Cindy?
Again, this comes from our CBO,
Right?
so that's what he wants clarity on. The statement itself, that it just has to meet building code, doesn't really specify, like, if someone has to live in it, according to if someone wants to live in it, well, it has to be engineered. Like if somebody's going to build a house out of a storage container, it has to be engineered. That's as per the building code.
Yeah.
If somebody's just using it for storage container, how does it have to meet the building code? He just wants this to be as clear as possible for people who are reading this, and for us to use it, in all honesty. What does that mean that it has to meet the building code?
Okay. Anchored. Sounds pretty expensive. How do we determine that? Is that we get that from the planner? Or do we research it?
I would ask the planner to clarify what he meant by that statement when he wrote it.
Okay. Okay, I think we need to clarify that one for sure. Yes, Dan, Councilor Maxwell?
Yes, I definitely agree that getting echo here, that we do not want to have building permits for a container and the building code applied to a container. I don't want to see that become where we have fees attached to that. the way it's worked now is seems to work for everyone. I'd just like to leave it the way it is with the limits on the numbers that we have for the containers.
Okay, so, but we do need to get clarification on that, right?
Yes.
And maybe provide our suggestion as well. Okay. Any more on that one? No? Okay. Why is the fence or structure around the pool now have to be 4.9? I talked about that one already. Anyone have any other concerns about that? I think it's mostly cost. Yeah? Okay. I think we need to ask that question though, because that's a significant expense. So I see a hand, Councillor Shipman.
So this is basically for new fences around pools, right? Like people don't have to go out and fix their 4-foot fence now, do they?
No, I wouldn't think so. We should probably get clarification on that as well then. Usually things are, if you have something there, it's, I'm saying a word you're not supposed to say anymore, grandfathered, because that relates to slavery, I'm told. Anyway, it usually when you have something there already and you pass a law or a bylaw, then you have to take some consideration into the fact that it's there already. Like I'm not what's her name, Judge Judy or whatever, to be able to rule on this stuff, but I'm just saying what I think is reasonable and appropriate.
Yeah, so if it's a new build or if they have to fix, then they would have to make it at the 4.9 too.
I'm thinking, but I disagree with the 4.9, so I don't know where that comes from.
Okay.
I think it should be still 4, because it's a significant increase in cost. Councillor Maxwell?
I agree with that. It should stay 4 feet unless there's some reason why it's not. The odd number looks like it's a conversion from metric. Yeah, I'd like to know why it has to be that as well. I have the same question. 4 feet, then I'd like to keep it there.
Didn't hear what you said, Councillor Maxwell.
I said that I'd like to keep the fences at 4 feet as
Yes.
opposed to the 4.9. It looks
Yes.
like it might be a metric conversion number. I'd like to know why it's been changed and if we can leave it at 4.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Is that, we can ask that question, Cindy? Okay, thank you. No. Previously, okay. The maps need to be updated with the severances. I agree. I think our maps are older now, and there's some things that are missing. And I think there was an option available to us, right, to update our maps, and we, if I'm not correct, I think we passed on it. Do you recall, Cindy?
That was for aerial photography,
Okay.
and yes, we did pass that, and they have been working on it. It's supposed to be implemented, I believe, sometime in the fall. I don't remember the exact date that they told us that it would be implemented, but I did get an update, I think it was, late June, early July, indicating that the photos had been taken. It was now a matter of importing the photos and matching things up and things like that.
Okay, so we are moving forward with that then?
We are, yes, we are. We paid for it. It
Yeah.
will be implemented into our CGIS system.
Okay.
In terms of updating the maps, that's exactly where we'll get the information for the severance file. It's from the CGIS system.
Okay. So that's kind of like we're already doing it?
Yeah.
Or working towards it?
Yes, these are different maps, but the information will be coming from CGIS, correct?
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else there got their hands up? No? Okay. Next item here is, do we want to continue to have as many MX areas as we do? Cindy?
Can I just provide a little bit of background information as to why staff is asking this question?
Yes, please.
So in the official plan, which was just passed, there's an indication that in any MX zone in a 300-meter radius, if it's in an MX zone, you can't build anything in an MX zone in a 300-meter radius. Then also, if within a 1 kilometer radius of the MX zone, if you want to build something, you need to get environmental tests, a slew of environmental tests done. There are certain, if council looks at the current maps from the zoning bylaw, there are certain areas, specifically along Highway 630, where there's already a significant amount of houses. So making someone wanting to build a new house where there already exists multiple houses seems a little bit, I'm trying to think of it, seems not very fair to the person that's trying to build a new home and trying to increase our tax base, that type of thing, because these environmental tests would cost thousands of dollars when there's already houses existing in that area. That essentially negates, because there's already houses there, why are they doing these environmental tests to see if they can build something there? So staff is asking this question because council has the authority to remove MX zones from the maps. They can't change the OP because the OP's already been passed, but they can change an area being designated as an MX zone. So there are certain zones along Highway 630 that have been designated as MX zones that council may want to consider removing as MX zones.
Okay. I can see one place on 630, right past, coming up the hill there from where Frenchtown used to be. And that's probably inappropriate to say any longer as well. But I think there was a pit on the south side of the road, and I don't know if it was maybe Art Leving owned it or somebody owned it. And they did haul gravel out of there. Right now they've got something across the driveway into it. And that pit there would definitely be within like a mile or kilometer of all of the homes on Booth Road, and even around the corner where that new severance took place. So I think we really need to look at this. But I think at the same time that there has to be some kind of protection for someone who builds there and who owns the pit, right? Because we don't want to stop the owner of the pit from generating money, but we still want to be able to have the homeowner build a home and not be affected by the operation of the pit, right? So I don't know where that happy medium is, right? So it might be in a different area, right? So, but I don't know what removing MX zones would do. That's kind of where I'm at. Yes, Cindy?
Would it be appropriate if, when I bring this forward, we'll make the when it brings forward to council, makes the suggestions of where staff thinks it would be appropriate to remove the MX zones? We're not suggesting to remove all of them. We're just ones that are already in existence, that there's already numerous houses around them, that it seems counterintuitive to have someone do a whole bunch of environmental tests when there's already houses all around it. Those are the ones that we're kind of suggesting that we move from the map. So I can bring forward the suggestions from staff to council when we bring the zoning bylaw forward, so that council has an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. There's already enough tests and requirements that would have to be met by the Mattawa any conservation authority as to where they're building and the type of birds and frogs and turtles and whatever is on the property. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that we don't need any more. Right? So if you could bring that, to us, that what our staff thinks is appropriate, I think that will be beneficial, because I'm not sure myself. I don't even know where they all are. I remember one when we're talking about the new highway going through. I don't know if everybody knows where Roger Rose lives, right at that little Kennedy Lake there, just on the east side of Pimsey Bay. There's a big hill right behind him, like a huge rock hill, and that they have that designated as a quarry. Okay, when they put that highway through there, so they're going to decimate that whole bush there, right? So, and that would make that probably an MX zone. Right? So, it would kind of prevent future development in that area, and that's pretty close to the lake. Right? So, anyway, okay. Anything else on that one from anyone? No? Okay. So the next one is the statement, under the rural zone, permitted uses, it says garage, municipal. Does that mean people can't build a garage for storage on a vacant lot? I don't know. I know people, I believe I've seen it happen in other areas, where people build a garage, okay, not to live in, and they aren't allowed to live in it, but they build a garage first to store their lumber and their machinery and their tools in, have hydro brought to it and all that. So then when it comes time to build a home, they have a dry work area that they can do that. So personally, I don't see an issue with that, but that's just me, right? So it's open for you guys to provide your thoughts. Councillor Cross.
I don't see an issue with if it's a vacant lot and something's built, as long as it's to code and to the proper purpose. I think they should be allowed to build what they want to build, as long as it's all following the codes and the permits.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Maxwell?
I agree with both of what has been said already. I think that I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? No? So it seems, okay, like, I don't know, I didn't hear anybody disagree with me, so if you don't disagree, I assume you agree. So it seems like we agree that individuals should be able to build a garage on a vacant lot, as long as it meets the building code requirements, and it's not going to be used to live in at all.
Mm-hmm.
And next one says, same as above, only under permitted accessory uses. I have no idea what that means.
There's different categories under each zone. And
Okay.
under an accessory use, a permitted accessory use under the rural zone, Again, it's the same thing where it's municipal garage.
Oh,
Not
okay.
sure why the planner put municipal in there. Why only a municipal garage versus, like council's been describing, a garage to
Yeah.
store things in on someone's vacant lots. It just seems funny to
Yeah.
only allow a municipal garage, because how many other places are going to build a municipal garage besides the municipality, which already has one?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I
Anyway,
think we need
it's
clarity
more
on
of a
that.
clarification thing from the planner. We just wanted to
Yeah.
bring this to council's attention, that it's,
So same as above, next one is same as above under limited services rural zone, right? So limited services, that's like a seasonal road, is that correct? Am I thinking the right thing here?
there's certain limited services, zones. It's a type of zone, like a rural zone or a commercial zone, et cetera. Yes, some of the limited services rural zones are on seasonal roads.
But there'd be limited services zones on a year-round road?
I'd have to look at a map to
Yeah,
me, but
I remember looking at them on a map, and I don't remember seeing that on the map. On our webpage, there's a, I guess it's a GIS thing, and I was looking at that, and I didn't see the LSRs on where there was a yearly maintained road, but I could be wrong. I think we need clarification on that one as well. Would everyone agree? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I think we've gone through that list. That's good, eh? Got through all that. Okay, so next item on the agenda is N, as in Norman, and it's a review of a social media policy, and it says in the policy that it shall be reviewed once a year. So it's in front of us to take a look at. I took a look through it. It seemed pretty good, but it's open to discussion from you guys and girls. So, Councillor Cross, did you see anything in there that looked like it needed updating or changing?
No, not as of right now. I wanted to compare it to some others in other municipalities to see what they have in theirs, to see if there's anything that we can add or take out. But as of right now, no, nothing.
Okay. And Councillor Maxwell?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add at the moment, but I'll put my suggestions in before the first.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I know. So we have some time to do that, yep. Okay, so everybody knows we need to submit something to Cindy prior to September the 1st, okay? So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And the next item is O. Okay. It's a, is the real resignation real? Okay. Anyway. And then there was P, it was another educational thing. So after that, we have item number 7, it's informational letters. I don't know if there's anything of interest to anyone in there. Councillor Shipham, anything in there that you liked or didn't like or would like to do something with?
Well, I was just wondering about the land transfer tax,
Okay.
because there's a paragraph in there that the City of Toronto Act.
Yes.
Yeah, and it allows the Association of Municipalities in Ontario. So this act that they passed allows the city to charge and collect a municipal land transfer tax parallel with the Ontario government for all property sales except for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can,
I think we might have already. I'm not sure though. It was on one of our past meetings. I know Sandy talked about it. Cindy, did we do anything with that already?
Yes, I'm not sure. Which item are you looking at?
H? Or, yeah, H, Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities?
Oh, yes, we've already submitted to the province the
Okay.
support for the land transfer tax.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else, Councillor Shipman?
No, that was it.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, anything in there that tweaked your eye?
Nope.
No?
It's
Okay.
kind of getting repetitive now, eh?
Councillor Maxwell, anything in there? No? Okay. And Councillor Cross?
No, nothing.
Okay. Okay, so information letters available is our next item on the agenda, and I don't believe we have any present. Number 9, we're not going to deal with this tonight. Next item on the agenda is the number 10 is accounts approval report. So we should have a resolution for this one, and I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. So if Councillor Olmsted, can you move this resolution, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, could you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Cross. That's a disbursement stated August the 19th, 2021 in the amount of $9,722.91. And August 24th, 2021 in the amount of $13,714.34. Be hereby authorized and passed for payment. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell? Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote to pass this resolution to approve these disbursements. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no? Okay. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Next item on the agenda is the closed portion, of which we have none. After that, we have number 12, business arising from the closed session. After that, we have number 13, notice of motion. And the last item we have on the agenda tonight is the adjournment. So we should have a resolution for that as well. So could I get Councillor Shipman to move that one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, could you second that, please? Thank you.
Yes, I can.
So we have a resolution in front of us moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Maxwell, that this regular meeting of council now be adjourned at 9:57 p.m. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call a vote on adjourning the meeting for tonight at 9:57. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So our meeting is adjourned. So thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good night.
Thank
you.
Everybody
you.
take
Hey.
Good
Bye
night.
now.